What's up, guys? This is Kephas.
Welcome to SBA Spotlight. In these videos, I'll be covering how well the single button assistant performs for each spec, what it does well, where it falls short, and how to get the most out of it, especially if you're looking for a lower stress or more accessible way to play. So whether you're here to relax, overcome a limitation, or just see how far one button can take you, I've got you covered. Alright, so let's talk about the single button assistant and how it's working out for arms warriors. In my experience, this seems to be one of the better melee specializations for the single button assistant. Honestly, warriors seem to be pretty consistent with this tool, and I think that's because they tend to have more straightforward rotations. But Wowhead was getting about 80% of optimal DPS on a target dummy using this tool, and for melee, that's really good. I think melee suffers more from the cooldown penalty than range classes do because melee tends to have more instant cast abilities, and that's where it's starting to lag behind a bit. But for arms warriors, it's definitely above average. Since arms warriors have a relatively straightforward rotation, the single button assistant is easily able to cover pretty much all of it. You'll be able to pick any build you want while using the single button assistant. It keeps all of your abilities on cooldown pretty consistently, even Demolish if you follow the Colossus hero path. It has no problem with ground targeting abilities like Ravager or Champion Spear, and it will cast them over your target, which is really nice. It'll maintain Ravager and even switch to Thunderclap in multi-target situations. In fact, it seems to do pretty well when you're fighting more than one target. Even just fighting two targets, I saw it use sweeping strikes fairly quickly and keep that ability on cooldown, which was really nice. So even with Cleave, Thunderclap, and Whirlwind, you're covered. And of course, it will also use Execute whenever you're in Execute range. Now, it says it will use Heroic Throw, but I rarely see this happen. Even when I'm in range, when I would probably want to use it, it still wants to prioritize the abilities that it would otherwise prioritize whenever you're in melee range, even if you can't use them, which is unfortunate. I also find myself sitting at max rage a lot, even though it's constantly using abilities. Now, there are obviously going to be some abilities that it's not going to use, like any defensive cooldown or utility abilities. It doesn't use abilities that move you, like Charge or Heroic Leap. It won't use Impending Victory or Victory Rush. It's not going to use Battle Shout or Switch Your Stances, things like that. But it also won't use your main offensive cooldown, which is Avatar. It also won't use any trinkets or racials. The good news is that all of these are off the global cooldown, and you can make a simple macro that will use them along with the single button assistant. I've already gone ahead and created that macro, and you can find it in the description. Simply copy and paste it into the game and you'll be good to go. It'll use the single button assistant while keeping Avatar and any unused trinkets that you have on cooldown. If you have any racials that you want to use, you'll want to add those in yourself. I've also added a no channeling conditional to the macro while using the single button assistant. This is to prevent it from interrupting any channeling abilities that you have, which in the case of arms warriors would be Demolish. If the tool uses Demolish and you press the button again, it's going to interrupt it. So even if you don't want to add Avatar or anything else to the macro, I highly recommend that if you are playing as a Colossus arms warrior, that you create a macro using the single button assistant and add no channeling to the beginning of it so that you never interrupt Demolish. Overall, I'm very satisfied with how well arms warriors play with the single button assistant. It covers a lot of ground, makes room for pretty much any build, and it's incredibly user-friendly. The damage isn't too bad, especially for melee classes who are using the tool. You'll be able to keep up better than you might think and go pretty far if you want to use it. And of course, there's room for higher damage than what the single button assistant is capable of, so if you want to reach those levels of performance, obviously you would not want to use the single button assistant. But certainly if you need it or want to use it, I feel like it's going to serve you really well if you want to play an arms warrior. And that's pretty much everything I've learned for now. But as always, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the single button assistant and how is it working out for you so far? Let me know in the comments. But with all that being said, I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.